Hello, my name is Bertha Sly. I am pursuing a master's degree in social work at Grand Canyon University. Today I will be discussing evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice is social work in a data-driven approach that integrates available research practitioner expertise and client perspective in a decision making format. Melanie and Parrish. Key components include client and family association through culturally responsive and strength-based communication, evaluation of pertinent research relevant to effective interventions, and collaborative assessment of client-based needs. Interventions are aligned to client preferences and contents with constant outcome evaluations for responsiveness and effectiveness. Evidence-based practice is quickly becoming the backbone of field delivery in social work, replacing experience-driven framework for empirical premise research. Historically, social work evolved in the 19th and 20th century as a result of escalating social problems in the industrializing society. At first, practitioners relied on personal judgment and experiences. This caused variability in practice and outcomes. By the mid 20th century, social work was influenced by development in psychology, medicine, and behavioral sciences. These jumped for social work to recognize the necessity of systemic inquiries and evaluation. Following the evidence-based medicine movement of the 1990s, practitioners argued that interventions should elaborate the best available evidence, align with the practitioner's expertise, client value, and context. At present day, EBP is a professional expectations necessary for transparency, accountability, and human service outcome. EBP backed interventions are now a requirement for funding entities, policymakers, and regulatory agencies. The integration EBPs into social work practice has raised the credibility and effectiveness of social work by enforcing its commitment to social justice, client empowerment, and interventions that are verifiably supported, contextually appropriate, and culturally competent. Evidence-based practice, EBPs, reshape the attributes and substance of social work agency service. Intervention programs are prioritized and supported by empirical research, ensuring that agency service delivery is both effective and aligned with the most reliable knowledge base. That's Grady ETAL 2018. The shift creates accountability, efficiencies, and outcome forced care. Social work practice agencies can now use structured interventions with proven success regarding client needs, making the service selection process strategic and data informed via standardized frameworks and measurable goals. EBP also changes agencies, funding platforms, resource allocations, and staffing strategies lean toward programming having the strongest evidence base. The injection of evidence based practice into social work practice can present notable limitations. First, there is limited applicability of research evidence to diverse population and contexts. Much of the evidence base comes from controlled environment that do not take into consideration the complexity of client lived experiences in everyday life. This limitation presents great magnitude concerning cultural relevance and generalizability, especially when working with marginalized and underrepresented communities, Raft and Radcliffe. Second, there is a lack of training and support from practitioners using EBP. Social work professionals often lack time, research, and or skills to evaluate research that integrate it into practice. Finally, EBP adherence can compromise professional judgment and client autonomy. Agency needs to adapt intervention to the unique needs and dispositions of their clients. The relationship between search and practice and paramount to the implementation of evidence-based practice in social work. EBP involves three key components: the best available research evidence, practitioners' expertise, and client values. Research informed practice decision via empirical findings that are tested for efficacy, effectiveness, and applicability. That's Bellamy and Parrish, 2020. Social workers are active interpreters, and users of evidence. They evaluate the quality and relevance of research finding with regards to client setting and context. However, the practice environment help workers contribute to the creation of knowledge via program evaluation, research and involvement, and feedback that informs service improvement and scholarly discovery. In summary, evidence-based practice has moved social work from phil- philanthropy origins to validate empirical research. EBP enhances the effectiveness, accountability, and ethical standards of social work intervention. However, barriers and challenges still exist. There is limited applicability of research to diverse population, insufficient training for practitioners, and the possibility of biased professional judgment. Gibbs and Anadana, 2020. The social work practicum must meet these challenges with a commitment of learning, evidence, evaluation based on sound judgment, and a deep understanding of client-based context. In conclusion, Evidence-based practice serves as an underarching framework for delivery and effective individual care, providing integrity to the complexity of all clients and familial contacts. Via the lived experience of clients, social workers utilize integrated empirical research and expertise to make informed, ethical decisions that promote well-being and empowerment. EBP frameworking enhances service quality, ensuring interventions remain relevant, culturally competent, and outcome focused. Thank you so much for the opportunity for me to do this presentation on evidence-based practice.